that way.
No, but this is the thing. That's what Christians would think. That's what Christians are told, and that's what Christians would think. Muslims will say we've got multitude of different evidences. If you look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ, you look at the information in the Quran, for example, that precedes its time, it is things that the Prophet ﷺ could not have known that it describes. Whether it is, first, the Prophet ﷺ describing what we see today in reality, or whether it is the natural world, like the Quran speaking about the universe, the Quran speaking about planets, stars, galaxies, water, anything. And these things today we are discovering, just discovering its accuracy, discovering its truth day by day.
Even
so
the
Quran
bees
is
being
description.
feminine. Right? Even the bees being female or something like this.
Things similar to that, yeah. Things similar to what you've heard like this. Like, for example, the development of the embryo. The stages that literally the baby grows. There's a Christian embryologist. He was in the 1900s. He was called Keith Moore. And he died as a Christian. But he said this description of embryology, when he looked at them using the microscope, he said it could not come from the Prophet ﷺ. He said that he's a Christian. He said, and he died as a Christian. But he still admitted that this could not come from a desert Bedouin Arab, because I'm looking with a microscope, the same description that is there is the description in the Quran, right? So these type of things, these, for example, the Quran talking about the universe expanding, and we're discovering it using the Hubble telescope. The Quran talks about clouds, and that clouds are heavy. No one says clouds are heavy. You look at clouds, you think they're light. Anyone who is
light.
Yeah, but clouds weigh tons. And the Quran uses the description of the heavy clouds. وَيُنْشِئُ, and he creates or fashions السحاب الثقال, the heavy clouds. This is a description that you're not going to find this in other scriptures, because always in literature and this and that, you'll find it describing it as light, because it's flying in the sky. But the Quran gives these types of descriptions. It talks about, like, I can go on and on and on, basically, right? When it comes to these things, when it comes to the physical world. Other than that, the Prophet ﷺ speaking about the future as well, of the things that happen today. He said, for example, that you'll see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs competing in constructing the tallest buildings. Where's the tallest building in the world today? It's
right
Burj
now,
Khalifa.
It's in Dubai.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know how they're able to do this? 50 years ago, it was a desert. They found oil. And after discovering the oil, they have the money. They're able to construct the buildings. The Prophet ﷺ, he said the earth will be puking its treasures. It will puke its treasures. And that money will become abundant within the Arabs. Prophet spoke about interest and usury, and how the interest and usury will become globally widespread. That even the people who try to avoid it will still be influenced and affected by it. And you can only do that if you have a form of paper currency, so you can lend large amounts to the people. That time there was gold and silver.
Yeah, there was no interest, I'm sure, back then, of borrowing money the way we are now.
Yeah, because there was you cannot print and just lend and then ask again. You need gold and silver, so you need to mine and find it in order for you to lend large amounts, this and that. So you couldn't do that the same way. You cannot do it in a scale of no one could avoid it. And I could go on and on right now and give you evidences. These are just some. Even the Quran speaking about the past, giving descriptions of things to do that neither the Bible mentioned or any other scripture that we discover today to be true. I'll give you one example. The Quran talking about Pharaoh. Like, Pharaoh is described in the Bible, an interaction of between Moses and Pharaoh. But nowhere in the Bible does it say that Pharaoh, at the time of Moses, claimed to be God. Doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. Right? Doesn't say that in the previous scripture.
Not that I've read or heard.
Yeah, it's not there. You can research it. You're not going to find it. But the Quran has that description. It says that he claimed to be God. Now, we know that to be a fact today. And this is something the Prophet Muhammad could not have known, because the hieroglyphic language was dead. We discovered the Rosetta Stone like 200 years ago. And through the Rosetta Stone, we translated from Demotic to Greek, and then we can read from the hieroglyphic, Demotic, and then Greek. So then we can translate the language of the hieroglyphics, and we can read what they're saying. So in the temple in Egypt, the temple of Abu Simbel, for example, the Pharaoh at the time of Moses, which was Ramses II, he was crowned to be divine by Horus and Set. Two Egyptian gods made him God, basically. He was elevated to be God. So he was a person who claimed to be God. And this was not common before him in Pharaoh's law anyways. It was not that common for a Pharaoh to claim to be God. But you can see that happening. You can see the Quran mention these things. The Quran talking about Abraham and what the people at his time worshipped, for example, the gods that they worshipped. The Quran is very specific that you worship the sun and the moon and a planet, which was Ishtar. And today we know that's true. Sumerian language was dead at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but then it was revived. And we found a temple called Zugrat of Ur, where we found an artifact which shows that the gods that the people in Asia Mesopotamia at the time of Abraham used to worship. All of this information was not there. This temple was under the sand. The language was dead. Prophet could not have access to this information, essentially. And this is not in the previous scriptures. So now the question is like, look, the Prophet ﷺ given these descriptions of these things in the past, talking about these things in the future that we see, talking about all of these things that we're describing in the natural world and all. I'm just giving you a few examples, but I can give many, many more. Not let alone to mention the things that the Prophet ﷺ did that people saw. And that the Quran itself today is a living miracle that cannot be imitated in the Arabic language is a challenge for the people today. So it is not that every religion does not have evidence. It's that other religions do not have evidence. That's why they make the excuse for every other faith. But the truth is, Islam is the only religion that will actually have objective evidence to demonstrate that it's from God. So what excuse would I have?